Hello, guys. Welcome to episode 7 of the Usually Best of Friends podcast. Abraham here.
Abraham.
Why did we both want to laugh so bad in the middle of his intro?
Abraham.
These are haters. So I have the best intros.
Okay, whatever.
Anyway, we have Julissa back, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay.
Just kidding.
And I'm here again.
Unfortunately, we have someone who's going to hoard the conversation back. No, I promise I'm not going to talk today. Anyway, take it away, Vicky.
Well, today I'm really excited because this is the last episode to the season based on friendships. Woo-hoo. Well, I'm sad because there's so much that you can dive into friendships, but this one's our last one.
It's our last official one.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll discuss friendships in another...
It's random.
I don't know, I'm giggly today. Well, we will touch base on friendship topics a lot in next seasons, but not specifically like this season.
We've made it through 7 episodes. That's crazy.
Yeah, for real.
Well,
yeah, that's insane.
the awesome thing about this one is that today we're going to be talking about our attachment styles, how we relate and we bond with people and relationships and friends and family, and how our attachment style impacts our friendships. So I'm really excited because I think we're going to learn a lot about each other, but I feel like I already knew about you guys.
Yeah.
So basically, therapist Vicky has been diagnosing us since episode 1. And just so that we can preface this entire conversation, Vicky's going to discuss and tell you guys a little bit of what an attachment style is, because I didn't know what it was. Did you?
No.
Okay. Literally in one of the episodes, just go back and listen to all of them so you can find it. Vicky tells us, I think I know what your attachment styles are. And she was, I think so. Well, at least she said it to me.
I think it
What
was during an episode.
Probably like number 2 now.
Yeah, it was back over there. The point is that she was spot on. And it's a little embarrassing because
She literally guessed her. And I guessed.
I didn't guess. Honestly, I did put my skills to work and I was like, oh, I've been doing a good job then.
You diagnosed us.
That's funny.
Yeah.
An attachment style is not a diagnosis, but it is easy to identify when you've been kind of working to identify it for a very long time.
Oh.
So I think that was why it was easy for me to say, I think this is it, but I could be wrong. I could still be wrong about
So
people.
is this something you do like dating?
I do it a lot with my couples, and I do it a lot with sometimes individuals when they're having trouble with their own friends, or when they're having trouble with like their relationships. It's just individuals and how it kind of shows up. And I'm just like, have you ever considered your attachment style? And they're like, what is that? And then I go into it and then we start talking about how the way that they learned how to emotionally bond to someone impacts how they're emotionally bonding to people now.
Okay. And we'll get into it. It'll make a lot more sense once she describes what it is.
Yes.
What all of this is.
So to start off, there are 4 attachment styles. There's secure attachment, which is one that everyone would want to have. It's the best one. And then there are 3 that are insecure attachment styles. One of them is anxious, preoccupied attachment. The other one is disorganized attachment. And the last one is avoidant, dismissive attachment. So these 3 insecure attachments actually start off to give you a little bit of a backstory of when these things happened. There was this theorist. His name was, I forgot his first name, but I think his last name was Bowlby. So if you're a psychology nerd, you're going to know who I'm talking about. Back in the day when Freud was like this big thing, and Freud actually thought that attachment came through us being fed or receiving like those financial feeding, supporting aspects. And so we attached to people that would feed us. That was Freud's thinking.
Like food?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just fed.
Okay.
But Bowlby actually didn't think that was the way that we attached to people and we grew emotionally connected to them. There had this theory that we needed comfort and security to be able to attach to people. And there was a couple of, which I don't remember the names, but there were a couple of studies that were done. One was with monkeys. Maybe you might have learned this in like high school in psychology or even in college. But these monkeys, they caged monkeys in with fake monkey moms. And in one cage, you had a monkey where it was constantly being fed. And then in one cage, but then they would transfer that same monkey into another cage where there was a fake monkey mom there, and it had like a soft covering on the monkey. And so it was for comfort and it was for security. And so they would test the monkeys. When the monkey was in both, like they would open both cages up and it had access to both. When the monkey would get scared, it would run to the monkey that had the covering that was soft. It wouldn't run to the one that was feeding it. So they ended up finding with this study that Freud's theory was wrong and that Bowlby's theory was actually accurate, because the monkey wasn't attached to the fake monkey that was feeding it. It was attached to the one that was giving it security and comfort. So this is why us as humans, we attach to people that we think give us security and comfort as adults. But as children, we attach to our parents because we find security in them and we find that comfort, not necessarily because they feed us. So that's a little bit of context, but let's talk about the main one, which is secure attachment, right? So secure attachment is characterized by trust. And as we read here, it says people with this style tend to have positive views of their relationships and a positive view of their self-worth. They can give and receive emotional support, and they don't shy away from intimacy. They effectively communicate their needs and respond appropriately to conflict. And this happens because the behavior was modeled for them when they were infants. So what we know about attachment is that we start attaching when we're born. There's this stage of pre-attachment, and then our attachment to people that we feel like these are our go-to people. So this starts when we're all born. And so people with secure attachments had their needs met, but not because their parents are perfect, but because they were attentive and they knew how to maintain a safe and trusting relationship with their child. So that is something that we all aim for in life, having that secure attachment. Now, let's go to the anxious preoccupied attachment. People with anxious preoccupied styled attachment often don't believe in their own worth and constantly have a fear of being abandoned. They depend on others for their emotional stability and may become clingy or possessive with friends and partners. Anxiously attached people typically had a caregiver, maybe who responded inconsistently to their needs, or that they may have had an experience where they were rejected or neglected, which led to feelings of insecurity. And then we have avoidant attachment, which is one of the insecure attachments as well. Someone with an avoidant attachment style is extremely independent and uncomfortable with intimacy. People with this attachment style prioritize self-reliance. They are uncomfortable with vulnerability and struggle with emotional displays from others or themselves.
Why are you laughing? She's like me.
They tend to avoid conflicts and shut down if an emotional conflict arises. So caregivers who dismiss their children's needs or who had dismissed their children's emotional needs are responsible for children who have avoidant attachment styles. People that are raised in this kind of environment generally learn to rely on themselves for emotional support. They didn't have anyone that they could lean on to for emotional support. And so, yeah. And then the last one is, we're going through a lot of information, so I hope you're taking some notes.
Yes. And if you want this to make a little more sense to you, you should visit the website. It's
attachmentproject.com.
Yes. And
Not sponsored.
no, not sponsored.
Please sponsor us.
Yet, right?
Yeah, not sponsored yet.
But yeah, definitely take the quiz, and I think that it'll help them to take it before listening to the podcast. It's really quick, maybe like 7 minutes, so that everything that we're saying you can either relate to or it makes sense to you, because we're going to discuss our attachments in a bit.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. I think it's going to be important to find out your attachment style.
Yes.
So last one is disorganized attachment. So a disorganized, fearful, avoidant attachment combines really anxious and avoidant behavior. So it's like a mix of anxious and avoidant together. Whereas people with an anxious style fear being abandoned, and people with an avoidant style reject vulnerability. So someone who has a disorganized style has this conflicting desire for closeness, but also a desire for independence. They may want a relationship, but they fear both the rejection and the intimacy because they believe relationships are unreliable. And the reason why they believe this is because growing up, their parents were unreliable. And it was very confusing for them because their parents would be there, but then they wouldn't. And when they would be there, sometimes it would be fear provoking for the child because of how the parents would react to things or things being asked from the child. So people with a disorganized attachment style had their childhood interactions with their caretakers tainted by fear. The child knew at the subconscious level that the caregiver would be there for them, but they also knew that sometimes their caregiver would not meet their needs. And so disorganized attachment styles, we normally see that when there's a lot of neglect or abuse from parents towards a child. And then because of this abuse, the child thinks, oh, my parents love me, but they also hate me. So there's this conflicting factor of like, I'm rejecting vulnerability because I'm scared of how others will react to me, but I'm also rejecting me sharing my needs because I'm scared of how people will react to me. So that is disorganized attachment. And we normally see that a lot with people like in foster care systems. Or we'll see that with people who have been sexually abused by a parent, or people who just a lot of things that they have gone through. Usually we normally see that a lot with those kiddos. So I talked a lot. I think today we should start off by maybe talking about, we took the test of the quiz that we had on attachmentproject.com. Please sponsor us. And we got our results to see what our attachment style was. And the reason why we want to talk about this today is because we're not trying to talk about our experience maybe growing up, but we do want to talk about how right now our attachment style might be getting in the way of us maintaining a healthy friendship or making new friends, or how it's really impacted our friendship in general. Yeah. So maybe we can start off by sharing what our attachment styles is. And we're actually going to read to you a little bit of what the characteristics of what our attachment styles are. So who wants to go first?
Abraham.
Abraham and I got the same attachment style. So Abraham can just read it and it'll apply to me too.
I have dismissive avoidant. Dun, dun, dun. Characteristics of dismissive avoidant are, hold on, let me bring this up. It says, you prefer to maintain an emotional distance from others. If someone does attempt to forge an intimate bond with you, you may pull away from that relationship. Displays of emotion, opening up to others and expressing your feelings make you uncomfortable. When other people try to open up to you, you may minimize their emotional expressions. You may come across aloof and distant to others. You dislike being dependent on others and see yourself as self-sufficient and independent. You may present a false persona to the world. And the last one, it says, emotional intimacy, trust, and dependency on others are difficult concepts for you. You prefer to create personal boundaries and rely on yourself.
That's deep.
That is.
How accurate do you think that is?
Uh-huh.
I mean, some I can apply to myself, but
I think
not really all of them.
These things are very nuanced, and not everything that's written about our attachment styles might apply to us. Maybe the majority might, but there are a few things that don't always apply to us.
And I also think that probably the way that it's described, it's just so generic.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there is so much more depth.
It's broad.
Yeah. And there's just so much more depth in the reality of being a, what was your attachment style?
Dismissive, avoidant.
There's just, it's so much more deep than a little description can describe.
That's true.
Well, based on that, I actually had a question for you, Abraham, but I forgot. So never mind. Take it away, Vicky.
I was just going to say, what is your...
It's your turn. What do you...
Yeah. No, it's because I thought maybe we should dissect this one first and then we'll move on. That way we're not jumping around on these attachment styles much.
Okay. Well,
let's dissect Abraham.
Abraham, how do you think the things that do apply to you have probably shown up in your life when it comes to your relationships or just your friends in general? Does something pop up to you that you're like, oh, I definitely see this happening often?
Yes, I have to read them again.
And then also Abraham doesn't like when you ask him more than one question.
Yeah, I know. I need to stop.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm actually telling the listeners. I'm like, he probably doesn't know what to say.
Because like reading these, like yes, they apply to me, but like then I saw Julissa, like what? Some of those apply to me too.
Okay, well then, at like, first glance.
For this one, like like I avoid a lot of things. Like I avoid like conflict. I avoid like talking about my feelings. Like I bottle everything up, and I just deal with it myself.
Yeah.
So like I'm like
yeah.
I rely on myself to get myself through problems, basically.
Do you now that you know that there's a name to your coping mechanism? How do you feel about the fact that you turned out this way? Do you wish that you were a different
obviously you want to be, not perfect. Like, what is the good one called?
Whatever Mario got.
Secure attachment.
Whatever Mario. Yeah, I mean, obviously you wish you were secure, but like, I mean, I think it's because this has to do a lot with your parents, no?
Yeah, or whoever. I mean, your parents
caregiver.
For us, or whoever your main caregivers were.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you might maybe share that same attachment style as one of your caregivers?
That's a good question.
That's super interesting to think of.
Maybe, but I feel like as Hispanics, I feel like you're more likely to know. Because like maybe my mom is like, maybe she raised me that way because she was raised that way.
Yeah.
So I would say maybe I think we may share the same.
Do you think you and your mom share it, or you and your dad? Is that too personal?
How's that too personal?
I'm just making sure.
I mean, I grew up with my mom, so that's who I think when I was like answering the questions. But I then asked for your dad, but so I try to be, because I mean I didn't grow up with my dad. Like I see him once in a while, so like I'm not as close to my dad as my mom.
Yeah.
So you definitely attached with mom a lot more.
What did you say? We were having a conversation about this earlier in our group chat, usually best friends group chat. and someone mentioned something about what was it? When you have this attachment style, it's because your parent did a certain something. Do you guys remember what it was?
Didn't you ask that?
Did I?
You asked if it's always our parents' fault.
Oh, yeah. I asked if it was our parents' fault. And then someone actually answered by saying that.
Oh, Vicky did.
What was it?
She said no.
I just said it's not. I wouldn't, because what I said is that it sounds bad to say that it's always on the parent, because it leads back to who was the one that we attached to at that time.
Yeah.
But I think more than our parents, we also have to think about what our parents were going through at the time.
Yes.
For them to have to react the way that they were reacting, or raise us the way that they were raising us.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I had said was, culturally, our parents migrated here from Mexico, and they had to work a lot. They had to make a living to get us out of where we were at.
Yeah, that was the whole point, right?
Yeah. And so being at work, at least both of my parents were always at work.
Yes.
They were always working. I would see them, but not as much as I would have had wanted them to be at home. So did I ever lack anything materialistic? No. Did I ever lack food? No. I had everything except for that emotional piece, because they weren't there when I was going through something. They just weren't physically there, but not because they wanted to not be there. It was because they couldn't, because they were at work.
Yeah, we're just trying to move up in life.
Yeah.
Honestly. What do you think about that, Abraham? Because I have so much to say and so many questions, but
We know.
I don't want to say.
Just kidding. But I mean, I agree with Vicky. He's like,
He's not kidding.
like I didn't like lag anything ever. Like I always had food on the table, like a house above my head. But like my mom did work because she was a single parent raising 3 kids. So
Yeah.
I don't blame her. Like maybe she could have been better in other areas, but like she did the best she could.
Right.
Yeah. As a single mom.
Under her circumstances.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's so different because Vicky and I grew up with both of our parents. So we lacked, I think, because we're speaking on culture, right? And how much our parents had to work and they just weren't there. We lacked from both our parents. And in your case, your parents aren't together, but your dad is around. I mean, not as much as your mom, but you were kind of trying to pull, I'm sure as a kid, a lot more attention from one single person at the same time that your brother was, at the same time that your sister was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, props to your mom.
That's a lot.
Because
Hashtag single
I have
moms.
a question.
Seriously.
Like, is there a specific period of where like these attachments can happen?
Yeah, it said that it was like from when you're born to 18 months.
Even more. So pre-attachment happens from when you're born to, I think, like the first 6 months.
But then,
like you're pre-attaching to someone, but you're really only looking for them to feed you.
Right.
But real attachment starts from like 6 months to like, I think it was 7 years when you start to really identify who it is that you're going to, who it is that you need like emotional support from.
because like as a kid, I did have both my parents. Like, I think I remember gaining consciousness like when my parents split up. So that's why I was asking. Like,
Yeah.
because as a
Damn.
kid, I had both my parents. So,
But you gain consciousness in a traumatizing event.
oh no, not really. I think like I remember like
Good
not like
things?
I remember like almost like I remember things as pictures
Okay.
before I remember gaining consciousness.
Okay.
So I think when I actually gained consciousness, like my parents were already separated. I think.
Yeah.
But I remember like glimpses of my life, like when they were still together, and they're not good. They're not good memories, unfortunately.
Well-
That's probably why I remember them.
As pictures.
Exactly.
Yeah, as pictures.
I mean, it's better that
Okay.
than
Well, this is my question because like obviously I grew up with both my parents, but they separated. So I wanted to see like when that attachment would form and it makes sense like later down the line for me.
Yeah.
To me, I have a question for you guys because you guys have the same attachment style. Which can we just name it one more time so people remember?
Avoidant, dismissive.
Avoidant, dismissive attachment, and they both have the same one. So we all come from parents that migrated here and worked a lot, so they weren't around a lot. But I think, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, your parents did a very good job at, while they were working, making sure that someone was taking care of you. They didn't leave you home alone. While your parents left you home alone. Or did you have a babysitter? And the reason I ask this is because although your parents aren't there to nurture you emotionally during your day, like from 9 to 5, there was someone taking care of you. And what difference does it make when you have a babysitter or when you have to feed yourself at like 5 years old because your parents are working? I guess that's where I'm getting at, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it does because I think it goes back to you having to meet your own needs if you don't have someone taking care of you. But if you do have someone, then that I feel like their way of caregiving also impacts how you're attaching to, because you're learning from that person too.
Yeah, like you, who is that person? Your babysitter?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're still in those developmental stages of like you're learning to attach to someone.
Yeah. And did you have because you did have a babysitter, right? The majority of your life, or you don't feel like you did?
I remember I had a babysitter, but I only remember then that my parents didn't let me go with that person anymore because my papi Julio said that when he went to go pick me up one day that he saw the lady hit me. So my parents never took me back to that lady. And then after that, my grandma took care of us for a good while. And then after that, I think maybe at the age of 12, like my parents started leaving us alone at home.
Okay. What about you?
Well, I was raised with like, depending on what years we're talking about, like I was always like watched by my family members.
Okay.
Because for a long time we like lived with other family members.
Same with you, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So just people living with you guys. And I think that's where I differ a little bit because we didn't live with family. So we never had a babysitter. So from the moment that my parents had to go to work, Julio and I were staying home alone. And I remember, I hated it. I was so afraid of being home alone. And I think that my parents not being there and then me being so afraid of them not being there, even though they were just going to work and having no like adult figure to take care of me at like the age of 4.
Well, yeah, that's a big developmental stage.
Freaking traumatizing because Julio's only 2 years older than me. And I mean, it already happened. Okay. Don't call the cops on my parents. This was years ago, but they did leave us home alone when we were super young.
Yeah.
Like
That's young.
Dang.
super young.
And I can only imagine what they were like going through too, like knowing and I have to work.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I gotta leave my kids at home. Like I have no choice.
It was really scary. Okay. I remember, we've had this conversation. I don't remember when I gained consciousness, but I'm sorry if I'm kicking you or anyone. But I remember glimpses of me giving my mom major anxiety because at this age, my mom would have been, well, if I was 4, she would have been like 24. So she was super young. And imagine just, I mean, when I was 24, I can't imagine having a kid, first of all, and then having my kid cry like, Mom, don't leave me here. I'm scared. And you knowing you have to go.
Yeah.
You have to. And it was so traumatizing, I'm sure, for my mom, but she had to do what she had to do because, they had to feed us. And then for me, because even though I was begging for her to not leave me, she did. So I bring all of this up to say, when you're in those developmental stages and ages, and during the majority of your day, you are home alone, left in distress. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that because our parents had to work. And if they're having to work, I'm pretty sure they can't afford a babysitter.
Right.
And not everyone has family around them. And we had a family, but my mom never wanted my family to take care of me because they were already taking care of you guys. So they didn't want to be another burden. It would have been too many kids that my grandma would have to babysit.
That's crazy.
So if you can relate to that, I feel you.
Yeah.
And it's just scary because you're just trying to develop into who you are, but you're by yourself. And then your parents only come back to feed you and put you to bed.
Yeah. Right. And they're not there for that emotional part.
No.
Hence why we're all like having these insecure attachments, but it's not their fault. It's like, what else do they do coming to the US, like trying to look for work and make a living? You
Exactly.
know?
Because, and it's not in a judgmental way at all towards our parents.
Right.
It's, it's
like they had to sacrifice.
It's a matter of fact.
Yeah.
It's either they stay with their child at home and they both starve. And I know it sounds, dramatic to some people, but that was our life. That was our life. Yeah. And, a lot of people's lives, I'm sure, but I think that makes sense as to why we formed these types of attachments. Maybe people have your type of attachment for other reasons.
Right.
But
I think when it comes to, I don't know if you guys noticed, but when we were taking this quiz, it asked us where we were from. I think,
but I put US.
I did too. Okay. But if we would have put Mexico or if we would have lived somewhere else, it does take into consideration the different lifestyles.
When it asked us, I was like, this has to be for a reason.
Yeah.
But you were born in Mexico though.
Yeah.
Why would I put Mexico?
And when Mario took the test, he's like, should I do Mexico? Because he remembers a lot from Mexico, still living in Mexico. Or should I do the US? I was like, do what you have more of to be able to answer the questions. So he did the US. But he genuinely believes like he would have gotten a different answer if maybe he would have put Mexico down.
Yeah.
Well, I want him to retake it and put Mexico because him having secure attachment is some BS.
You know what?
Hating.
I am hating.
Look, when I could not figure out Mario's.
He said weird flags in the group chat, and he says I'm hating.
Yeah, but I said weird flex. Was Mario in there?
No, it was in
never
the.
mind.
It was in the. Look, this is what happened. You know how I was able to identify you guys? I could not get his because I've trained my mind to instantly like identify when it's insecure, but I've never.
To label people. She
Right.
labels people.
No, I just couldn't. I was like, why?
She's an
So I
accuser.
told when we did the love language test, I
Yes.
knew what his love language was before he took it.
What was it?
Words of affirmation.
Oh, like
and
me.
so I told him, I was like, you know what? Take it because I really don't know this time. Like I can't identify. And when he had secure attachment, I was like, no wonder.
Yeah.
Because I was not thinking secure attachment. And like, I wasn't even thinking about it as an option at that point.
Well, yeah, because everyone's there's something wrong with
We're all
everyone.
broken.
Except for clearly Mario.
Mario.
And I asked him, like, how did you answer? He said, well, I answered like this and like this. I'm like, oh, I see why that would be.
You're like, I could never answer like that.
Yeah.
Can't relate.
It was so funny. I was just like, well,
Good for him. Though.
but you know what? This goes on to another topic, which we'll talk about as we deepen this conversation.
Okay.
Oh, so you're not going to say it?
No, I'll wait because I think it's going to come up
remind me of
anyway. Yeah.
Okay, well, then for you, Vicky, because you had asked Abraham if he thought that he developed his attachment based on a parent. And you mentioned earlier in our group chat that you developed your attachment.
Yes, by a parent.
Yeah. Sure.
I think, and what I mean by this is that I feel genuinely that either both of my parents also are avoidant dismissive.
Both of them?
Yeah, or one of them is.
Damn.
Because thinking back to a lot of the things that the characteristics of avoidant dismissive traits are, I was like, that applies to me a lot because I feel very uncomfortable sometimes with vulnerability. And considering that I'm a therapist, I've had to work through it a lot. And so thinking back to my childhood and thinking back to the first thing that came up to my mind was different events where I remember needing a little bit more emotional support and not getting it. And I remember my parents' reactions. And it wasn't that they didn't want to, is that they didn't know how. Because they also were like, felt uncomfortable with a lot of vulnerability on the table. And so...
like when you get the sex talk?
Yes! Oh my God.
That's funny.
Not even that, but just like, I remember times where like, I would be crying because let's say I needed a hug. Because I got in trouble about something and I needed just emotional support. I needed comfort. My parents could give me the comfort even if they were mad, but they didn't know how. They just didn't know how and you can tell that they just felt uncomfortable with the whole situation. And not because they didn't like me. It was just, I think it was a lot of vulnerability and they didn't know how to handle it. And so there's been times too where like I'll be talking about something important and I'll tear up, and my parents' reactions, like I can vividly see this. And I always wondered, why are they like that? And now I get why. And they would just like, their face just goes to like, what do we do? What do we do? Like they don't know what to do and they shut down. And they want to comfort. Yes, I can vividly point out like different times. And so I see it happen with other people too, where my parents will be present for when someone's vulnerable, and my mom will either shut down or she'll be like very dismissive about it. And that's just her personality. And my dad will be like, you can see him be triggered and he doesn't know how to react to it.
Your mom is dismissive, but because I'm like picturing her be dismissive of something, but now we've learned to laugh at it.
Right.
Because she means no harm.
She doesn't. She doesn't.
She really means no harm.
I just think she gets uncomfortable, and sometimes what she says or what she does it's like, I think done that differently.
And to be honest, if I think your mom's dismissive because they were dismissive with her growing up.
Yeah, I definitely see that. And then when I think about my dad's history and his childhood, he grew up with the single mom as well. Dad was very abusive, physically abusive. Left the relationship with my dad was like 4 years, maybe 2 years old.
Yeah.
And so my dad grew up with the single mom too, but it was never there emotionally to support them. And when my dad needed that emotional support, my dad will talk about how, his parent would avoid him. Like, it's just, they didn't know what to do. So that's why I think it's both of my parents because of their history.
Yeah. And like, I will say this again, we are not judging our parents.
Yeah.
We completely understand them. And I think based on mine and your chart, like, we're very close to our parents.
Yeah.
We just read into them a lot.
We study them.
I really study my parents because I want to understand why I am the way that I am. And the only way to do that is by not diagnosing, but inspecting and scrutinizing the people that raised me, which for me primarily were my parents. Not to put any blame on them ever. It's just because I also, at this age, I feel like I just want to help them heal. And I think you might agree.
Yeah.
We want to help them get better at communicating, at blah, blah, blah. And you know what? We'll say this, and we're not going to get into this topic, but I think that their grandchildren are bringing something out of them. That like
a healing
that
aroma.
As their children, we couldn't do because they were too busy trying to survive.
Trying to survive. And it's just to say that when it comes to attachment styles, it is possible that if you have an attachment style and you have a child, if you don't learn how to securely have them attached to you, your attachment style will impact them. It's going to repeat. Yeah.
So it's a generational curse, which I believe in.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys believe in. Abraham is like, not so much.
I don't know about that.
Okay, well, I believe in. Anyway. Yeah.
So it's interesting. Avoidant attachment. Well, tell us about anxious attachment.
I don't want to. I feel so I feel like you're looking at me with a lupa. What is it? A magnifying glass?
Our audience needs to understand what it is.
But it feels like a personal attack on my personality, and it is.
That's how we were all feeling. I literally have taken this test so many times just to see if I get a different answer. It's always the same.
She changes her answers.
I'm like, how?
All right. Characteristics of an anxious, preoccupied attachment style. You may feel as though you're less than others. The low sense of self-esteem associated with the anxious attachment style often results in feelings of not being good enough. That was a personal attack, because how are you going to sit here and tell me that I'm insecure? When my whole life I've just tried to not look insecure. Anyway, your self-sacrifice puts the needs of others first, and this is often due to a lack of sense of self. Due to an inconsistent formative period, you may feel as though you're unworthy of love. Thus, you seek external validation, reassurance from others in an attempt to prove yourself that you deserve love. I will say right now off the bat, I don't think I agree with this portion of it.
Yeah.
But anyway. And by the way, these are also things that you agreed with for yourself on a couple of things.
Yeah, like that one specifically.
You feel like that's true for you?
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay.
In a way.
Jump in, because I'm curious. They're going to say so many things. I don't want to get lost in combo.
So long. Ours is like 4 bullet points.
Do you see why I feel so personally attacked? Because they're like, not only are you anxious, preoccupied, but you have 10 reasons why.
For real.
No, okay. So please jump in if you guys can relate to this. No, it's not. It's hurtful. Okay. You struggle with being single or alone for a period. This is the first time I'm reading this part.
That also.
You do? Yeah. Bro, me too. I don't think I've gone through long periods of time without being in a relationship. And I've been knowing that. And I tried to not do that this last time. But
it didn't work out.
Then I got engaged in less than a year. So it didn't work out. Anyway, sorry. Okay, you struggle with being single or alone for periods of time. Relationships and intimacy are strongly connected with anxious attachers' feelings of self-worth. Therefore, you may crave attention and try to impress others in an attempt to get in. Can you relate to these?
Not that last part.
Okay. You are caring and kind to your partner's needs. However, because you may become preoccupied with catering to your partner's wants, they may end up feeling as though they need space from the relationship.
No, I'm not
No,
clingy.
I feel like I'm not that clingy either, but I mean, I can't be just saying what I don't think I am. Because
The
clearly,
test doesn't lie, Julissa.
shut up, because clearly yours did. I'm going to skip some of these. You fear rejection and criticism. Okay. Maybe. You are hyper vigilant towards any threats to your relationship due to fear of rejection and need for intimacy. You may overanalyze your partner's actions and misinterpret fundamental problems in the relationship. I think that's very true. You do that too? Aw, do you? No. Well, she's also married to secure attachment man.
For real.
Which I think has an impact, okay?
Oh, I agree. I think that
it's impacted me a lot.
it's helped you.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And you've said it in other episodes how Mario came and brought a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
And that comes not from telling, like, it's not like there weren't any other people in your life that were always like, oh, you're so beautiful. Like, not that kind of confidence.
Right.
Security
Yeah.
is secure attachment style. Ding, ding, ding. We have an answer here. Okay. There's too many. So you may act clingy, blah, blah, blah. Due to lack of self-agency, you may struggle with making decisions and instead rely on a partner to do so. 100%. I rely on my parents and my partners to decide things for me a lot. What about you?
No.
No? What about you? I feel like you... No?
Sometimes. So I think it depends.
Vicky makes the decision, but she makes Mario tell us, like when she didn't come to episode 3 of Usually Best of Friends.
Really?
Wait, I think she does that a lot, no?
She does that a lot.
Like, Mario would always.
Vicky's sick. Vicky says, Vicky can't.
No, he won't even say that though. That's not like the good thing about Mario.
He takes the
He's
hit.
like, you know what? I think Vicky she's too overwhelmed right now. But he won't say like Vicky said this.
Yeah, like Randy would, and he said he would. Julissa told me to tell you. No,
That's so funny.
Mario does do that. He protects you a lot. He's like, Vicky has a lot on her plate right now. I don't think it's a good idea for her to be on the podcast this
No, well, that's
episode.
why I'm saying sometimes it depends though, because he does like I speak and he does it for me. He speaks for me. But there's times where like I want to do something. He's like, no, you can't because you're putting too much on your plate. And he'll do he'll decide for me.
Yeah.
And so it's like a in between.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing that he decides for you sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
But if it was me, I'd be the one deciding.
she overcommits.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Okay, the last one, because there's, like I said, too many. You are attentive to your loved ones almost to a fault. Others may end up taking advantage of your kind and generous nature. I don't know. I mean, you guys also have to tell me what you think, because I don't think you guys think I'm very generous and kind. At least not in these friendships.
I think I've seen more of some of those recently than before, for sure.
I was a demon when I was a child.
I feel like I couldn't even think back to you as a child. Like your teenage years, I don't think I could be like, oh, I remember when you did this. But I can remember like recent, like in the past 2 years where I can see like, yeah, I can definitely see that.
You see like where my life was on the verge of falling apart thanks to Abraham?
What?
Search up podcast number 5 for that.
Yeah, it's number 5 bonus episode.
Bonus episode.
5.5.
It's not up yet. It'll be posted after
What
this.
do you mean? You should be thanking me. Look at where your life led to.
I know, I love it here.
Exactly.
Did you guys see my most recent
You're welcome.
TikTok? Yeah, thanks.
No.
Abraham. You know what? I left that conversation with a lot of questions.
What conversation?
Should we get into it? No, it'll be the bonus question at the end. I have a question for you.
Okay, that's good. That's
Based on the bonus episode that you guys have not watched yet, because it'll come out after this one. Abraham and I, just to give you context, had a conversation about our most recent breakup, like friend breakup.
What is wrong with you?
I mean, yeah. Oh, but the bad thing about that video, just so you guys know, is that he's not in the video because the camera died. His camera died.
Mm-hmm.
Your camera died.
My camera died.
I
remember.
My camera.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I digressed horribly. But whoa. Where's the timer? Oh, here it is. Okay. I was gonna say something.
Yeah, you were going to talk about
What was your thing called? Sorry.
anxious, preoccupied.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we were talking about how in the past couple of years, I I can't think back to teenage years where I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that. But in the past few years, I've seen a lot of those come or kind of show up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
And you know what? The crazy thing is that even throughout developmental years, like you won't see them show up. It's until you're like, our brain has fully developed and we're all over 25 now.
It sucks that you have to wait till you're
an adult to start seeing this.
Yeah, an adult.
So you can't even fix it as a,
exactly.
like as a teenager? Damn.
No, because you're being nurtured by
But what if
another person. So who's going to fix you? People just break us.
What if you go to therapy and get diagnosed? You can't. Can you get diagnosed?
You know what? I think therapy...
Not diagnosed, like as a teenager.
I think therapy is a blessing to those that are conscious enough to use it to their advantage. And I'm sure that... I mean, you please give us your opinion on this because you're a therapist, but I'm just going to speak for myself. Had I gone to therapy when I was younger, I don't think it would have had as much of an impact as it's going to have now that I'm about to start therapy.
Because you're not really fully self-aware of yourself yet until you start becoming more independent and separating yourself a little bit from being dependent on our parents.
Yeah.
And you become like your own individual with your own dreams, your own goals, like your own efforts to work towards something.
Even your own mistakes.
Right. And so you're more self-aware. So I don't think it would have had, at least for my life experience, therapy wouldn't have helped me when I was 15.
Same, based on our life experience. But I'm sure that there are a lot of people.
Right.
Do you think that therapy would have helped you earlier?
For sure.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
In what ways?
What do you mean? I went through traumatic
I know.
childhood.
I'm not dismissing you. I'm just asking so that you can give examples to the
like
listeners.
for this, like no.
No?
No.
Because you technically
Well, actually-
started therapy before we did.
Yeah. But I was going for therapy for other reasons. So like we never touched on like stuff like this.
I think it just really all depends. Not a lot of people know about attachment theory.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
No.
Attachment theory is actually fairly new. The reason why I got into it was because I took an elective course during my graduate program, and it was on attachment theory, which I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I realized that not a lot of people knew about it because when some of my colleagues would be like, what elective are you taking? I'm like, oh, I'm taking the course on attachment. And they're like, what's that?
Oh, wow.
And so it actually opened a new world for me because I wrote a paper, my final
Thesis?
program, was on attachment. It helped me understand life in a whole different way. And mostly when you're looking at life from a systemic relational aspect, you learn that attachment has a lot to do with how we all get along and how we all interact with one another.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was distracted reading this. Otherwise, I would have given more to say.
Well, let's talk about how maybe some of these characteristics, we can identify how they've showed up in our friendship. And has it showed up in a positive way or has it showed up in a negative way? Has it been helpful or has it caused a problem?
Did you guess Abraham's attachment style as well as mine?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Because he said, can I say what mine is? And I was like, is it this? He was like, yeah.
So, to desarrollar your question, can you tell us what about your friendship with us made you assume that Abraham
For real.
wasn't anxious? No.
It's just the
What was
way.
yours? What was yours again?
Avoidant.
Avoidant. What about Abraham is so avoidant to you as a friend?
It's not the way that I looked at it. It's not because you did anything to me. It's because I see how you guys act with other people.
Oh, so what he did to me. I'm just
So, for example, like I knew Abraham was like avoidant because
Are we gonna out it?
it's just okay. I knew Abraham was avoidant because I think because if I identify to myself, I can easily say like, oh yeah, they're avoidant too. But you can tell sometimes Abraham gets uncomfortable with vulnerability.
Yeah.
And that I knew because let's say you start crying here, me and Abraham will probably be like,
I want to say that is very factual because there are so many times where they make me emotional or something makes me emotional and I won't cry because I will not receive an ounce of comfort from either of these.
it's not because we don't want, at least I'm going to speak for me, but it's not that I don't want to, it's I'm just like, I don't know.
I
know
know.
what to do.
No, I know about you, but Abraham's gonna be like, "Are you crying?" Like he's gonna call me out on it.
Yeah.
It's just hard sometimes. I don't
know.
At least for me, with that part where it's like uncomfortable. It's not uncomfortable for me to create intimacy, but it's uncomfortable for me to sit and if something very heavy is happening. I'm trying to explain. Like for example, we were actually here at this table, and I think I shared this a couple of weeks, like at the beginning, where I say I shut down. Remember when we were talking about something and I was like, no, I shut down, like if it becomes emotional.
Yeah.
And I knew that about myself because of this. I am avoidant. It's like, oh, I just shared a little bit too much, which is maybe not something normal for me. And now I'm just like shutting down because it's like, I'm going to avoid everything that happens after this.
Yes, because you feel drained.
Yes.
From having expressed yourself.
Which
from
I'm not used to.
From having been vulnerable.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
So I knew Abraham was like avoidant because even when you want to give him a hug, he's kind of like,
dude,
he doesn't know. Like
he's
like, hi, Vicky.
Abraham, do you remember when I used to hug you a lot when we were younger?
Yeah.
Did you hate that?
Yeah.
I still did it just because we're close.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Not to invade your privacy.
It's not that I don't like it. It's just I don't know how to receive it.
He's like, he's also,
and that's the point. That's the point of avoidance. That is, we don't know how. Like, so we tend to avoid these interactions.
Interesting. Well, actually, I want to bring something up really quickly after a break. But we just took a short break. That wasn't short, was it?
No, that was like an hour.
Was it really an hour? 40 minutes?
40 minutes is close to an hour.
20 minutes, 40 minutes. It was a break that was not intended, but we had technical difficulties.
You act like we needed to say all that. For them, it's just,
I'm an oversharer, okay? These people have not yet understood me. Well, Vicky understands me. You need to try harder. Anyway, let's jump back in where we left off because I want to take a second to say something to Vicky.
Yeah.
damn.
Can I affirm you for a second?
Okay.
Because
go ahead.
I want you to know how strongly I feel that you being a therapist is your calling. And I have multiple reasons. I mean, obviously, when you pick your career as a Christian, you hope that it's going to help you help people. But I mean, you picked such a specific career that is to help people, whatever. Okay, I'm digressing already. The point is that I think that you listened to God in changing your path in your career, and you went from wanting to be a dentist or just to study medicine to changing it completely on all of us. And we all found it really shocking. But based on the conversations that we're having about how you and Abraham are both, what is the attachment style again? I just can't remember.
Avoidant.
Yeah, how you guys are both avoidant. This is so true to Vicky. And I just want to explain to you my experience with you growing up.
Okay.
Because I feel like when we were growing up, I just felt like you were very, I guess, avoidant, and I didn't have a way to like label it, and I never noticed it.
Yeah.
I think your father's calling you.
He can wait.
Okay. I'm gonna mess up my words because I didn't plan on saying this, but we were younger and you were very avoidant. And this isn't to say that she wasn't a good cousin. Okay, Vicky's my cousin, by the way. This isn't to say she wasn't a good
The millionth time.
Yeah. No, it was just like, I feel like you are so in touch now with yourself and you're very self-aware so that you're able to empathize with people.
Yeah.
I think when we were younger, you were not very good at empathizing with people.
No.
You were just kind of like...
No, I wasn't.
And by people, I mean me.
Just in general.
And me by experience, because I feel like when I speak to her now or when I share things with her now, she really tries to understand and she's not dismissive. And I think when we were younger, you were a bit dismissive because there were things that maybe I expressed that you could not relate to. And since you couldn't relate to it, you were just like, huh? And now, like, I can see it in the way that you speak to me. And no, I can see it in the way that you listen to me when I speak. And it's changed so much.
Yeah.
And I think that that's God-given, because if it weren't for your career, I don't know when else in life you would have learned these skills.
Yeah.
Not that you wouldn't have.
Right.
But your career taught you these skills that are very helpful in my friendship and relationship with you now.
Yeah.
So
I've never thought about. I knew I was avoidant because I can recall times where I remember you crying for different things, and when we were younger, and I was just like, I didn't know what to do, and I felt so uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's mostly that, like, you would show your discomfort, and I never, like you said, but as we were living through it in those moments at the age of 12, 15, 16, I was never like, damn, like, she doesn't understand me. No. But looking back and feeling how in tune you are with my feelings now, or how in tune you try to be, I'm like, damn, she was not like this like 10 years ago.
I thank you, because I was very avoidant. I can think back. I think back in the past to things that I did, and I'm just like, why did I do that? And it makes me cringe because it makes me feel uncomfortable thinking about it. But it was because of that avoidance. It was I just didn't know how to handle it. And you know what? I didn't think about my career being a calling. I knew it had to. I don't know how I ended up even in this career choice. Just other than the fact that I had to pray about it and God guided me here. And then now that I'm actually doing it, I'm just like, many years ago, I would never expected me to be here. But I'm remembering a conversation we had.
Me and you?
Yeah. Maybe months ago. And it had to do again with like this career choice that I made. And you mentioned something too. I told you how it changed. I felt like it changed me as a person because there were things that I know I didn't like about myself, but my career choice changed it for me.
Yeah.
And I don't exactly remember what we were touching the subject on, but we were talking about it. And I think it is the first time that I'm thinking about it, but I think it was part of God's plan to change that about me through this.
Yeah.
Because thinking, I don't know where else I would have.
I think it's just,
I don't know.
It has to be a part of your calling. I know you don't, maybe you're not going to say it that way, but I will for you, because knowing what God wants from you in the ministry, it would have been very difficult to be that shoulder to cry on or to lend a helping hand if you didn't have these skills to be a good listener. And I'm not dissing her. That's why I'm saying it in her face. Okay, everybody. It's more, it's more of an affirmation because like I said, I also didn't know that there was anything wrong. Not that there was, but I didn't even realize that she was dismissive until she started not being dismissive. Yeah. That's what I mean. You don't know how bad things are until you get a really good thing.
Yeah.
So, and she just became really good.
I think it's also, we talked about this a week ago or something.
We talk about it. Yeah.
Where I was like, I'm still learning because there are times where I do feel uncomfortable being vulnerable with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it comes off wrong sometimes. Hello? Oh. It comes off wrong, not from me, but I feel like it's taken the wrong way. And I'm still learning how to be more open, but not be too open.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
You're finding a balance.
I'm trying to. And I still think I'm in that. I know I've made progress. And I've changed in a lot of things, but I think there's still a lot of progress to be made.
And that's so good because we'll look back at these videos and I mean, the three of us, for her, we're speaking specifically on the fact that her career helped her get here. Yeah. And for you and I, it could have been, for me, I think school helped me a lot to be more empathetic towards people, which I think is like the main gist of what I'm trying to say. You've become so empathetic and receptive of vulnerability. It's just incredible. And you and I maybe gained these skills through personal experience, while Vicky gained them through education.
It's a miracle.
It really is. And I mean, I know we'll look back at this 10 years from now or however long later and realize how much we still had room for growth that right now we don't understand that. Yeah.
Well, I can definitely say from going to the question that we had asked about how it's impacted our relationship, definitely feel like my being closed off or not as vulnerable with you guys. And my uncomfortable with me feeling uncomfortable with vulnerability did impact my relationship with you guys.
Yeah.
In terms of like, I could have been there and I wasn't because I just didn't know how.
Or we could have been there for you and you didn't know how to ask for it.
That's true. But I feel like you guys have been there.
You think so?
Yeah.
Do you? Okay.
I genuinely
That's
believe,
a good question.
I always go back and I'm always telling you, if it wasn't because of you, this part of my life would have still continued in a negative way.
Yeah, certain parts of your life.
Yeah, certain parts of my life. So I genuinely feel like I never had to ask for it because I think it has to do with
Because I'm controlling.
your possessiveness sometimes in a positive way. This is where it has to be with like that part of your attachment. You just came in and did what you had to do when I didn't know how to ask for it.
So
it helped
because it is part of my attachment skill to be like, what is it? I guess because I don't think I'm clingy, but I am very protective and possessive of like who I do like, and that includes you too. And I could name a million reasons as to.
Yeah,
you know what? That makes sense. I am pretty possessive, which I know it sounds like bad, and it could be. We'll figure it out later. But
I think in my experience, it was a healthy thing
at the time.
Yeah, it helped. It helped me. It helped me
because I ended certain relationships
a lot.
Yours. And when I say this, guys, I don't mean like there's a 22, 23-year-old Julissa butting into her relationships.
17, 15.
That was, 17 was the absolute last time that it happened.
Yeah.
But it happened a lot when we were in grade school and middle school. Mm-hmm. Do you think I'm possessive? With you?
Oh. I don't know. Are you?
I think that a part of my possessiveness is proven at how quickly I forgive. Because I'd rather forgive so that I can have you back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'd rather forgive so that I can have you back. And that's how you know that I'm super possessive, because I'll do anything to have the people that I love back in my life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's not, but that's a positive thing, being able to forgive.
It's not. I can't whisper, dude. These suck for ASMR. It's not. It's not a positive thing. It's detrimental. Sometimes you have to let go.
Not forgive? Is that what you're saying?
What happened?
Something you did not forgive?
No, like always forgive, but
never forget.
No. But I guess that's the flaw. It's okay to always forgive, but my possessiveness brings me right back to the situation that I had to forgive. Mm-hmm. But back to this friendship, it's helped in this friendship. My possessiveness has helped. Well, it helped in the past, and it helped me and Abraham come back to each other after all of our breakups.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Abraham would have probably cut me off permanently.
True.
First of all, you're not supposed to agree to that.
Well, I'm wondering how, maybe if you guys can identify an interaction between you two where you both can see how your attachment style was showing up.
Okay. With us, because now we figured out how
it showed up, and it's both happening at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I can just speak on the fact that whenever Abraham would go through his like little moments of wanting to detach from everyone in the friend group, and he would avoid any type of conflict, or even sometimes not even conflict, because we weren't even that conflicting with you.
No.
But you just didn't want to mix your friends with like your dark moments.
Yeah.
You wanted to go through it alone. And if it weren't for me being so possessive and always being like, Abraham, why'd you leave the group chat? Abraham, what are you doing? And just like literally bothering you every day,
that's true.
we could have lost touch a lot sooner than, we did. That's what I think. But I can't, other than that, I can't think of another specific, but I'm sure there are many.
I'm trying to think, and I can't think of any. What is that noise?
I'm nervous because you guys are calling me out. So I was like, no, I felt I'm like playing with like the table.
It's like, what the heck is that?
I think sometimes we think about our attachments as a bad thing, but it's not a bad thing. It's just how we interact with people.
Yeah.
It just sounds bad because people put a negative connotation on it all the time.
Yeah.
Well, it just sounds bad.
It sounds bad.
But I don't think it's bad because it's literally saved us. It's the example you both are bringing up. Just imagine, maybe we wouldn't be here doing this podcast if Abraham wouldn't have been here with us.
Seriously. If Vicky wouldn't have gone to school, honestly, I don't know more.
You're right.
I'm going to quote one of my clients. She says all the time, she's like, Victoria, don't tell God what to do. He knows what he's doing. And then she says, and the Bible says that God knew you when you were in your mother's womb. So everything after that is planned out for your life already. And that's what she says. And she's 66.
Oh, and of course I have to agree.
And so everything that's happened in our lives is just planned, and we're just kind of fulfilling it.
Oh my God. It's just, I feel like we're touching on 1% of all the things that have all the ways that our attachment styles have affected one another. But I'm sure that we can talk about so many
things.
Let me
look up at my characteristics specifically on avoidant.
Yes, please do.
Because I think there are things on there
that differ, although you and Abraham are both avoidant. Abraham, say something.
For example, like one of the things one of the things that shows up on mine is like you may come across like distant to others. Well, that shows up a lot with me. But I'm wondering, do you feel like that's ever impacted you in our relationship when you don't show off as distant to others, but I do?
Yes, it's shown up a lot because I've made very conflicting choices in my life that have put me in very conflicting situations with the people closest to me. And we've spoken about this in past podcast episodes. The relationships, the romantic relationships that I've chosen in the past have brought a lot of controversy to my life and problems. And in those moments where it's brought problems with our family, I've always felt like it always drifted me and you apart because I always felt that since you weren't communicating your support, so you were not telling me like, I support you no matter what, kind of the way that I would with you, because I was so like, I'm just so vocal about my loyalty and you are not. So not that you weren't loyal, I'm sure. It's just since I wasn't hearing it the way that I would express it, I would be like, she's on my family side. She's not on my side. So I felt very unsupported a lot. And it's not until literally we talk about it in this podcast that it's all making sense. But I don't hold grudges because I can't.
The funny thing is that when those things happen, I know exactly what you're referring to, because when those times would happen from the other part of the family, I would get, I know you're on Julissa's side. I just want to say this though. I would get that all the time.
Really?
All
so
the time.
To them, it was obvious?
To them, it was always like, I never shared anything, but I think in my mind, I thought I was like, well, I think I'm sharing enough for people to know where I am.
Yeah.
But to them, it was like, kind of like, we know, like I would always get that when things would happen. Like, we know that this is happening. And I'm just like,
they're like, we know you're on Julissa's side, but let me tell you why we think she's wrong, because they're not that nice about it.
And so
she's like, making it seem like they were so nice.
No, but I'm just saying, like, that's something that they would always say. And then for you to feel like the opposite, it's just like, I was never vocal about it, any of it.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like,
yeah, it's true. But to me, that felt like really, it was scary. Honestly, it was scary to not have someone support me vocally. But actually, I want to dissect you guys because you guys have the same attachment style. How does that look with your friendship with each other? You both avoid.
I think I'm just with Abraham because I don't know if this is because we're both avoidant, but I'm comfortable with like,
because he's not gonna overwhelm you with it.
Right.
He gives just as much as you're gonna give.
Yeah.
I just feel it's like, to me, it's always, I've never, and I'll say this in the podcast, I mean, mostly to you, Abraham, I don't think I've ever, not that because I have felt it with you, that's not what I'm saying. But I don't think at any point in our entire friendship have I ever felt uncomfortable with you? Ever. Never.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been like, oh, I don't want to reach out to AB. Like, no, like I've never felt that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I don't know if that's because of the avoidance that I'm just like, well, he's just as avoidant as I am, so we're good.
No, I agree. What about, well, I can definitely see how whenever you're going through something, it's easy for you to go to Vicky. I've seen that multiple times. Or maybe
Is
not
that true?
easy,
I
but
think it is.
easier. I think it's true. There's sometimes on this podcast, y'all, whoever's watching, I'm talking to you, that they talk about things like, oh, that one time that I vented to you about this. And I'm like, what the hell? Yo, que, am I like pintada? Do I not exist to you guys? And Abraham always, well, not
But
always.
I think that's been recent though.
Yeah, that is recent.
I wouldn't say that that's been something that maybe I can say like, yeah, that's happened for so many years.
Okay, so
I think
then
that's been recent.
let's go back to our childhood. How do you feel like, well, actually, no, because you said that our attachment styles show up more as adults. Why?
I'm just thinking, I think in a previous podcast, we talked about like a situation when we were younger where it was you and me in front of the church, like on las escaleras, and then you and our other friend that was like on the side, and we were kind of just like, what do we do? And you guys were like, I wish they would disappear from this world. And me and Abraham were kind of like,
Oh, yeah.
It is what it is.
yeah. I remember that.
You did say that me and that friend were about to kick you and Abraham out of our lives. Well, that's because we were probably going to kick you out because y'all didn't express how much you loved us.
That's
And me and Abraham were just kind of,
And my love language is words of affirmation. And if you don't tell me you love me, I'm not going to assume you do.
that's
funny.
so funny.
Yeah, so that's true. In our childhood, you and Abraham definitely, whenever there was like conflict, you guys not vented to each other, but in a way clinged to each other more.
I think thinking back to like under like maybe 15 years old when we were like really young, I do remember a lot when things would happen. I would just find myself with Abraham.
That's true.
And even if we didn't even talk about it, I don't even remember ever talking about what was going on with you. It was just, let me just sit next to you.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, and now it makes sense why. That's interesting.
What are you thinking? You seem so thoughtful.
Because I'm shutting up so I can hear him talk because he says that I talk too much.
I don't. Whatever.
I'm
I
like,
did say that.
I don't know how to read you sometimes.
But it's kind of like you see how I pause.
Yeah, so I'm
I get my
pausing.
thoughts out.
I know.
But I was finished.
Oh my
What I was
God.
saying.
He told me, he's like, if you because he says that I try to fill in
Empty spaces.
empty spaces too much, but I talk too much and he's about to say something. I just need to give him more time. So I'm like giving you more time right now, but he's actually done for once.
Yeah.
Huevo.
Well,
Funny.
How does your attachment style, Abraham, affect, not in a negative way, it doesn't have to be in a negative way, but how does it play a role, I guess, in your romantic relationship with your girlfriend?
and that's one of the reasons why I say not all of it applies to me, because I think I'm very different towards Lala now. Like as before, I was very, like I would, if she would make me mad, like I would hold it back and like not say anything. I think I'm like opening a little bit more towards her in like how I feel. And that's because like we talked about it, and obviously she wants to know like what I'm thinking, because I would never tell her what I was thinking.
Which is, I'm sure, very frustrating as a girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah, so she would get frustrated because like I wouldn't tell her anything, and that's just how I was. But like now I'm working towards like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is my thoughts. Here's how I feel, and stuff like that.
Do you think that she's the first person that you've been vulnerable to that extent?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I would say yeah.
Because it takes a lot.
It does. It's been hard.
I know.
And I mean, I'm still working on it. So we're not perfect. So I'm still like, there's still things that like I just can't share with her, and like I'll just deal with it myself. Eventually, we'll get there.
Can you like put your finger on what specifically makes it so hard for you to share certain things with her?
Not really.
It's
just I'm not a sharer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like if it affects our relationship, then I'll go, like I'll share it with her. If that makes sense.
But do you think that it's, I guess where I'm getting at is, if by my understanding of Vicky, if she refuses to share something with someone, it's because she feels like they'll use that information against her.
Mm-hmm.
If I refuse to share something with someone, it's because I feel like they'll either be dismissive or they'll use it against me. So I can relate to you on that. So there has to be, do you feel like you're afraid of someone not nurturing your needs?
Yeah. I think I'm like scared of like not understanding me, but like I don't even know how to explain it. Like I'm scared of like not, how do you say it? Like not like, because I know she'll understand me and like she'll feel bad for me, but
Are you afraid of her feeling bad for you?
no.
No? Okay. So you're okay with her empathizing with
Yeah.
you. And you know,
I guess I'm like scared of like rejection.
yeah,
I guess that's the best way I can explain it.
that makes sense. And it also makes sense why with Lala, it's, you know, you're getting better at expressing yourself because you know she's not going to reject you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take away the fact that in the back of your mind,
Yeah.
you've trained yourself to be like, have that guard up.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I think we can all relate to that to a certain extent. And we are, the three of us, very blessed to be with the partners that we have. Because even though it's been slow, but they've surely helped us let our guard down.
Yes.
Sure.
When in the past, it hasn't always been like that with us.
Right.
Hey, but at least we made it out.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't make it out of relationships where they don't feel their needs being met. They either stay there or they break up and then they don't get back together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which sucks for them. And it's better for others. What are you laughing at?
What you're saying.
It's just a lot.
It is a lot to
Digest.
How do you feel? Okay, so we've talked about how it's impacted our friendship. And we've talked about how maybe some of these characteristics show up during conflict or without conflict. Do you feel that it shows up in the same way with like family members?
For me, I think I'm more open with you guys. So like I can have conversations like these with you guys than I wouldn't with my family.
Yeah.
I wonder why though.
I'm wondering too. But I've always been like that since I remember.
But we're also, I mean, if you really think about it, like your family. Because we were with you during your developmental stages and vice versa.
Yeah.
We saw each other go through puberty.
Well then maybe that makes sense for me.
Yeah.
Because like early in my childhood, like I still would see my cousins a lot, and then there came a period where I didn't because of differences of religion.
Yeah.
So like then you guys started becoming my family.
Yes, I agree. Same here.
But like I would say it's even true like with my mom or like my sister. Like like I won't sit there and have like deep conversation like this with them.
But would you with another adult of their age?
No.
Exactly. I don't think so either. I think it's the fact that we are like your family because we're like your siblings.
Yeah.
But we can also, I don't know, maybe it's also because you have this guard up with the people that caused trauma in your life. And we didn't really cause trauma, but we were growing up with you.
And I would say like, I think just because they don't know, I've never talked to them about what I went through. That's probably why. Like you guys don't know like full details, but like you guys know
More.
a little bit. Yeah.
Will we ever know full details?
Yeah, I was kind of so like close to asking you earlier. I'm like, so what did you go through?
Because
but I don't know. I was like, no, I'm going to be avoiding today.
Yeah, I mean, I would have avoided that.
Dude, and I just don't ask because I'm used to like these two avoidant people not wanting to share. So I'm trying to understand their boundaries because I want to know everything. I'm an open book. I'll say it all. I don't care.
No.
So will we ever know?
Well, maybe.
Do you not share because, well, and I'm speaking about us. I would understand why you wouldn't share with your family.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not that I understand, but I nonetheless. I forgot what I was going to say.
I think you were going to ask something about him not sharing because of us.
I don't know. It was something about that, but will you ever share with us? Or do you feel comfortable enough to one day? Or is it something that you
probably
just...
not, or like, I wouldn't tell you what happened. You know?
You would just...
Like, maybe... I'd probably like text you if you really wanted to know.
You see, and that makes sense because I knew that
Or
about
like, I would
Abraham.
write like a book or something. With my experiences.
You should do that. Otherwise, I'll never know.
But why does it matter? What do you want to know?
I want to know because I like to understand people. She doesn't want to know because you don't want to know. You don't want to say.
No, she wants to know. She's just not gonna.
I want to know.
I think,
but there's another level of me that doesn't want to know because I don't know how I would handle it. And again, I think that goes back to the
how would you handle it if I was your client?
I think that's different though because of level of friendship intimacy.
Okay, yeah. No, you're right.
I've learned to say, I'm going to put this in a box and close it up and this is work related. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to someone like a friend like you, I would not be able to handle it the same.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the situation. Because if it's, I mean, all trauma is traumatic to the person receiving it. Mm-hmm. But to the person hearing it or being a spectator, I would use it to understand you better and to know how to be there for you. But at the same time, it might make me feel guilty for not knowing sooner. But I can handle that burden. It doesn't make me feel like, like, you know what, I don't want to know because, that's one thing that I want to say. Vicky, I'm learning so much about you. It's not a bad thing. Oh my gosh, Vicky used to do something when we were, it would make me like, what the heck? Another one of the reasons why I see now that you were so avoidant is because there were times where I needed to vent about something family related and she'd be like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know because she didn't want
Really?
She didn't want to carry that burden. And I found that when we were younger, so selfish because I'm like, it's not about you knowing, it's about me letting it go. And I was not able to do that, bro. You guys, it would make me so mad because I'm like, Vicky's over there thinking she's so mature by not wanting to know a chisme. It's not a chisme. I'm trying to vent. Let me vent. And
she hit her.
She hit my tooth. Vicky is so avoidant that she didn't let me vent to her, bro.
Dude,
do you ever remember doing that?
I think I probably did. I think I can't recall like specific moments, but I believe you.
Me either.
Like,
me
I
either,
believe,
for the record.
I believe you. Because literally that's how I am. But now like it's like I'm trying to, I don't know, dude. I know I changed in that aspect.
She's changed so much, but not me. Look, I don't want this to turn into people thinking that I'm calling you out on.
No. And I want to say like it's important that you're bringing it to the table because I think it's clearing things for us in our relationship. Yeah. Like it's not because I thought I was more mature or because I didn't want to hear you. It was just like, I have a problem of avoidance.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to like figure that out.
It is clarifying things. It is clarifying things. And like I said, that mentality of like young me being like, she thinks she's more mature, so she doesn't want to hear this gossip, but it's not gossip. I just need someone to talk to and she's not going to be there for me. It was like a young person.
And that could be like
young
something
person thought.
Like these misunderstandings could be so crucial in friendships.
Could be damaging.
Yeah. Like it's either it helps the relationship or it doesn't.
Yes.
And it's like, well, between us, like we're family. There's nowhere we could go.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, well, I'm going to stop being your friend. No.
Well, let's be honest, because that's actually, I see what you're saying because it's true to us, but there are a lot of people in there that break up with family members.
No, yeah, that's true.
And
it's true.
And we've said this what the hell are you doing, Abraham?
Sorry.
We've made the choice to stick around with each other because you never had those intentions that I was interpreting wrong.
Right.
And I never had the intentions that you were interpreting correctly because she knows me better.
Yeah, dude, it's just so funny how everything's clearing up now.
Yeah, bro, at freaking 26 years old.
Yeah. But we needed to get to that 25th year for our brain to fully develop so we could be more self-aware of what's actually going on with us.
But that's for girls. When is Abraham's brain going to fully develop?
No, it's for both.
I'm kidding.
Oh,
Oh, free. That was the worst joke I've ever heard in my life.
Whatever. Abraham also said in the last episode that I wasn't funny. And I thought about that
so
4 times this week. I want you to know. The things that he says stick to me for the rest of my life. One time he said that I had grandma hands and I have not looked at my hands the same ever again.
It's not that deep.
Can you diagnose me? Because why is it that of all people, the things that come out of Abraham's mouth mark me so much? For real.
well, maybe because compared to all of the friends that we have, not considering us who are family, but Abraham's been the longest friend currently that you have.
Bro,
And so maybe it's like, I don't know.
I hate him. It's like I base my identity off of what he said.
What?
I don't think there's a diagnosis for that.
Just brokenness, like Abraham calls it.
Brokenness.
What are your thoughts, Amy?
My what?
Everything that's being talked about?
I don't know. Just a lot.
Do you feel like there were some things cleared up for you?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like what?
Like why I am the way that I am. Like I was just thought like, oh, this is what I got stuck with. But like now there's reasoning to there's reasoning to the madness.
Does it make you feel good to understand?
Yeah, because now I know there's things that I can do to change.
You know what
bad
to change.
things. Yeah. Although like I will say like I don't think that test is like 100% accurate. Because like I said, like some of those things I feel like they don't apply to me. But I mean, I know there's other resources I can use.
And like Vicky said, these labels aren't negative, although they sound negative.
Yeah. It just helps us understand like what it is that we want to continue moving forward with and what it is that it's not. Because, it's not a bad thing to look for that emotional need in others the way that your attachment does. And then it's not a bad thing for us to be like avoidant in some things because some things will impact us negatively if we don't avoid it. So I think there's a positive and a negative for everything that's coming up with these attachments. And it's just choosing like the positive to move forward with and like, let's change these things over here. They're not so helpful.
Yeah. I agree. Well, honestly, I feel like we could talk about this for such a long
I think
time.
it'll help us be better parents as well.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
Good to know.
I sometimes see the avoidance in me when I'm taking care of Azaria and I will react in a way and I have to consciously be like, I'm doing that and I need to stop and I have to change it because I'm literally practicing with Azaria.
Yeah. And I'm sure it'll be, it's easy with her because she's your niece and you love her. But it'll come even more naturally with your children.
Yeah.
When they are from your womb. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we close this long-winded conversation that honestly we could keep going?
Dang. We talked a lot.
An hour and a half.
Yep.
Wow.
Over 40.
I think there's definitely a lot that we could always talk about, but I think we learned a lot today about each other.
Honestly, yes.
I think more than every other podcast that we've done.
Absolutely. But it's also because we're finally getting to that point in our podcast where we're calling each other out, not in that way, but we are speaking on specific circumstances with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is good.
That's true.
Because it's not like y'all are going to go anywhere. So at this point, might as well just tell you to your face. You're next, Amy.
For what?
I'm kidding. We already called each other out.
Yes.
So I think you had a question that you were going to ask at the end.
Yeah. So at the end of every podcast, y'all, we ask a fun question to lighten the mood. But this time, I'm not trying to lighten the mood.
Already,
I'm trying to poop on your parade. Yeah, I'm explaining to them why I'm not going to do that because I want to go back to
here we go.
Our bonus episode conversation about my breakup with Abraham. Well, it's not even my breakup. His breakup with me, basically. If you don't know what we're talking about, you need to watch the bonus episode that's going to be posted after this episode.
That makes no sense.
Bro, you said it could be a bonus episode could be posted whenever.
Yeah, we'll post it before this episode. No. They were like, what are they talking about?
Well, they can go watch it. It gives them more reason to anticipate something because I have a question for you.
That's true.
Jeez, they don't understand marketing. Anyway, and by they, I mean Abraham. Sorry, I just dragged you down with him.
Yeah, right.
I don't understand marketing.
No, you're King Toxic, and that's where we're getting at. When you did what you did, I don't think I ever asked. Mm-hmm. Did you ever feel sorry? Or did
For
you
what?
Did you
For
ever
being in the right?
You
No.
really? Why?
Why would I feel bad?
You didn't feel bad.
I didn't feel bad because I would want someone to do what I did to me.
If you don't know what he's talking about, you just need to watch that episode.
Yeah.
So why would I feel bad?
Because it broke us up.
And look at you now, bro.
Yes, but was it like?
Was it worth it?
Well, I mean, I guess that was the question that I was going to ask. And what if we hadn't come back to each other? What if we hadn't been friends again? Would it have been worth it?
For me, I didn't care if we were going to be friends or not.
Why?
What do you mean? I told you this. I was indifferent. I got to a stage that I was indifferent.
Yeah, I know.
So I didn't care if you were in my life or not.
Do you guys hear this?
What?
I'm hearing it.
I just can't believe this. That he's admitting to this on camera. So you didn't feel sorry. You didn't feel bad about what you did at all.
What do you mean?
I need to stop asking the same thing. He already answered.
You know how long it took for me to even know that you guys had broken up?
Yeah, because we weren't friends. If you were because you decided to do some crappy things. So if you and I,
okay, so even if I did care, like it would have taken me like a year to know.
No,
and at that point, it's like, oh, whatever, it is what it is.
Had you never done what you did, which I don't hold against you, I'm more wanting to know if you were ever apologetic about it, which clearly you're not. Okay, good. I'll forgive you for that too. Anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is, had you not done that and we would have broken up, you would have known about the breakup a lot sooner. I was just waiting to do it.
So what did you want me to feel bad about?
Breaking you and me up.
Oh. You're talking about
that breakup?
Yeah.
Hell no. I'm talking
about why did you need to word your questions better?
You understood what I was trying to say, didn't you?
I understood.
What?
You're just dumb.
But I feel like because we talked about it.
I'm sorry.
We had a falling out.
Sorry. You see, now everyone's a bit confused. My real question is, did you ever feel bad that you did that because it ended in me and you falling out? Wait. You did understand my question because you said no because you were indifferent. He did answer it. You weren't interested in being
at first, I was like, then she gonna text me back or what?
And I didn't.
Is she gonna say sorry first?
And I didn't.
Because I wasn't gonna say sorry. Like I said, I didn't think I was in the wrong. But I did I don't think I said anything to anyone, but I did feel bad. I was because we had always had fights, but eventually someone would give in and oh, I'm sorry, or
maybe not even apologize, but we'd break the ice.
Yeah. But then that never happened. I was oh, well, it is what it is. Too late now.
I got to a point where I thought it was too late too.
And that pattern is very avoidant. I just want to say.
Yeah, bro, he's so annoying because you gaslighted your avoidance. Listen to this. Abraham's avoidance in not accepting that he hurt me, and I'm not using this against you. I'm just saying it's a matter of fact. His avoidance gaslit me into thinking that I needed to apologize to him. And if you hadn't, I don't even remember how we started talking again. I think it was our group game nights. If you hadn't done that, Abraham, I was going to reach out to you and apologize to you just so I could have you back in my life. But that's because I was going to apologize for something that I didn't do, by the way. I was not even in the wrong. But I was going to apologize for not having justified your feelings. And I was going to apologize for not texting you back and kind of making you feel shoved to the side. Because I do think that I was trying to find a reason to apologize just so I could have him back. And he's over there, funny. Not even caring.
Oh, yeah. Because I remember Lala was like, what if she said sorry?
She knew that I was going to say sorry.
I don't care. She can say whatever she wants. I was like, it's not going to change how I feel about the situation.
It sounds like you were hurt by her not answering. So that kind of like...
Yeah, like I said at
dropped
first.
The glass for you.
Yeah, at first I was like it was like, like the SpongeBob when he's just sitting at the cafe by himself. He's like waiting for Julissa to text.
Oh,
I know.
And then like a couple months I was like, whatever.
Bro. And a couple months later, he went from SpongeBob to Squidward.
He did.
That's funny.
No, but I had to add one more thing to that because I just need like real closure with Abraham. Hold on. Wait, there's another question. Vicky's probably so over this. She's like, get over it already.
But wait, it's just interesting to listen to your dialogue.
No, it's because I heard the podcast in that episode and I was like, I guess I was so listening to you actually that I didn't let my brain ask what I wanted to ask.
Do you know your question?
No, I don't remember.
Nonsense over here.
Yeah, no, no, I don't remember the question, and it's gonna eat me alive. But I'm just gonna text you about it when I remember.
I'm not gonna answer it.
Freaking avoidant. I'm gonna use that against you. No, I'm going to because I am getting the closure that I need. You did not put me through that.
You put yourself through that, bro. I was just your guide. We're here for a good time, not a long time.
I end the podcast. I have nothing to say. We have been talking for an hour and 47 minutes of pure nonsense. So
no, not all nonsense.
Well, no, just these last 15 minutes. I shouldn't have even brought this topic up. Just close us out, Vicky.
Well, now that you guys have learned about what attachment styles are and how they can impact our friendships, please feel free to go on any quiz online. Look for one that's more popular than others and find out what your attachment style is, or ask your therapist. Your therapist should be able to help you identify your attachment style if you have a good therapist. I'm just saying. And so do that for yourself. Do that for your partner. Do that for your friends. It'll help you understand a lot. And it'll, like you noticed here, a lot of things were cleared up that we've never really talked about, but created these conversations and it cleared things up for us. And it was kind of healing. So I encourage you to do that. And I encourage you to also listen to our bonus episodes that we will be uploading. And considering that this is our last episode for season 1, stay tuned for a new couple of episodes and season 2 that you will be surprised that we talk about.